book now, there is an expert teacher rubric. And I explained it. I want to say this to you because it's a holistic approach. And it begins in your book on 51, 52, and 53. It is a rubric, and it's divided into 7 areas that an expert teacher handles. I wrote this rubric because I've watched thousands of teachers, and I wrote it for another reason. I wanted something simple and something clean so that you can see how you're making progress. So it starts, each category, there's 7 categories, starts out what it looks like at the beginning and what it looks like when you move to expert. So this is a self-assessment tool for you. You can just do it for yourself, all right? So one of them is, do you have a safe, culturally competent learning environment? Is that in your classroom? Second one is, what are you doing on student achievement? And how do you know you're making progress with that? Third one is content expertise. How do you know you're actually bringing content to them in a way they can understand and use? How do you intervene is the next category. Can you identify what the student doesn't know or does know and how you're going to augment that? The fifth one is teaching performance. Do you get the paperwork done? I mean, that's just a part of the job, okay? Can you get that done, okay? And that's organizational paperwork. But teaching performance is this, your instructional design. Can you design instructions so that it gets done and kids understand it? It's a process. And then the last one is, how are you with parental contact and information? One of the things we find is that in the research, and in my book, Emotional Poverty 2, we talk about the amount of stressors that parents have. Parenting is emotional, okay? It's probably the most emotional activity you ever engage in, okay? And it's full of stressors. There's all kinds of research that the stressor of a parent when the child is young, and they've done it by measuring cortisol in saliva samples, that impacts the academic performance of the kid when they're in their teens, okay, and high school. So one of the things we look at is, how do we reduce the stressors on both parts? I'm in schools. When I was a principal, I had teachers who were hanging up on parents. I said, no. They're calling us for help. We can't hang up on them. If we call them for help and they hang up on us, we're furious. No, they're partners. And how are we going to make that happen so that we reduce stress on both sides? And it helps you then, this rubric helps you say, okay, I'm making progress. I'm not stuck here. I'm moving along. It's a wonderful tool for self-assessment. So, what are the characteristics of an effective teacher? Okay, well, if you look in your book on page 19, what you will see is that they are fair, they have respect, and they have an understanding of their content. They can teach it, and they understand their kids. One of the things about an effective teacher is that in the research, they have this kind of business-like classroom atmosphere. It's not like they're buddies. I had a teacher who wouldn't tell kids no when I was a principal because she said, I'm their friend. And I said, no, you're not their friend. You're their teacher. And one of the things is they have friends. They need a teacher. And what a teacher does is guide you. One of the mistakes that a lot of teachers make is they don't want to tell students when they're wrong. And in the research, that's a mistake because they go away not knowing. So there's a way to do it gently. You can say to them, well, can we go back and revisit that thinking again? Because it sounds to me like here's a couple pieces that you missed. And one of the things in the research, they find that teachers, when they think a student is capable, they will tell them it was wrong. And when they think a student is not capable, they don't tell them. And so one of the things is there's ways to do it gently. And you say, no, I need you to know this. And then you've helped them move on their way. What's a reasonable expectation for your principal? I hear all kinds of things. And having been a principal and having had several principals, what's reasonable to expect? Well, your relationship with your principal is a two-way street. In what ways are you helping him or her do their job? And in what ways are you making it more difficult for him or her to do your job? Let me give you an example. When I was a principal, I would go to my superintendent every summer and I'd say, I have these 5, 6 things in my campus I want to work on. But I know that they're going to end up at the board table. Somebody's going to take them to the board level, and you're going to hear about it in a board meeting, in executive session. I said, you've got 20 principals. You can't take on 5 issues for every principal and survive your board and keep your job. I need you in your job. So of these 5 things I want to take on, what can you support me in? I don't want to take on something that you can't support me at the board table. He said, all right, you work on this one. I said, okay. He said, leave the other 4 alone right now. I said, okay. He said, let me do some groundwork. Okay. So one of the things that principals are looking for, and if you look at your book, is you want to look at things of support. And on page 100 in your book, one of the things you can expect is that they'll intervene for you when you have a difficult parent. They're going to work with you on that issue. I think it's unconscionable for a principal to leave a particularly a beginning teacher or any teacher alone with a very difficult parent, okay? Number 2, they're not going to keep you working in an unsafe condition. So one of the things, if there's no protection there for you, that's a problem. They're going to provide opportunities for you to learn, okay? And the campus is going to be safe and clean. When I took over the principal job, the bathrooms stank. The kids' bathrooms, the doors on them didn't work. I mean, that is so disrespectful of kids. I said, oh, no, we're not having that here. And so one of the things you're looking at, and the last but not least, they're going to protect you from faculty members who are bullies. Yes, there are faculty members who are bullies. There are administrators who are bullies, okay? And so the question becomes, how do you get that protection? And it's a key issue as you work through something.